Well, I first started with the United States here. I got from them the first report from Virginia, and I got the rotor dynamics program from New York. And I designed some of the centrifuge in New York. Secondly, the Germans were of the greatest help to give me the blueprints for this under critical and the supercritical centrifuge. I approached two professors in MAN who were heads of one head of the mechanical engineering, the other one head of the chemical engineering, and I bought the blueprints for $1 million. And I manufactured the components in Germany, in Switzerland, and in England, and in Yugoslavia for the preforms. No, absolutely not. We only gain access to the oil centrifuge designs which were made in the 40s in the United States, and they were in the open literature. They were really indispensable because despite the fact that we had made many failures with them, but the beauty of it, we have at the end optimized the oil centrifuge, and we had it running at power levels comparative to what the Americans were making, and because we have used some of the latest bearing designs for the oil centrifuges, and we have used the latest rotor dynamics. So we have perfected the oil centrifuges even along with the magnetic centrifuges. I'm glad that the questions are technical. Yes, please. I think small percentage. We tried to understand each and every piece of that design, and we tried to adapt it to our situation. And whenever we had difficulty, for example, we had a great difficulty, we asked for the grooving, there's a 4 millimeter ball below, and we wanted to groove that thing with 10 microns wide and 10 microns deep. And we asked the Swiss to do it by laser, and we asked the Germans to do it by EDM. And they both asked for $1 million, but they couldn't do it. And then, well, what can we do? And then we went and we did it ourselves, and we did it electrochemically. We spent only $5 or $10. Yes. It was absolutely under an atmosphere of fear, and I could never conceive of saying anything that would touches the boundaries of courage unless I take my wife and we go in the garden and we talk about it. And even at the latter years, I fear that they might even have devices, so we go walking a little bit of a distance from the house. So the atmosphere of fear was prevalent. It permeated in every part of us. Of course, that touches on another question. Then why did we work on such a program? And I always say that there are 3 reasons for us working on such a program. The first reason is that we scientists, like you are, we are task-oriented, we love our science. The second reason is that all scientists working in such programs are patriotic. And the third reason, which prevails in Iraq, which doesn't prevail in this country, is the element of fear. We fear for our lives and for our families. When I decided to cooperate with the Americans, I wanted to know how I could do that. So, by coincidence, I had unloaded from the internet a paper that was in the Washington Post. It stated the 5 most wanted scientists in Iraq. And I was one of the 5 most wanted scientists. So the paper was speaking a little bit in a somewhat unkind way about the 4, but when they touched on me, they put this the respectable scientist. And I said, and then I noticed that they have consulted Mr. David Albright in Washington about this opinion. And I said, if this man has a good opinion of myself, and he has been an inspector whom, and I met him, let me contact him. So I talked through a journalist whom I met by coincidence again. I asked him to put me through to Mr. Albright. The journalist, by the way, has assisted me in publishing the book, The Bomb in My Garden. This is the book, The Bomb in My Garden, which I have published about my experience. And Kurt Pitzer is the man who has put me in contact with David. And David made the contacts. And it was a really tough ride to make this, because after I cooperated and I've given everything that I had, I found myself almost the next day, the army barged on my house and they put me and my wife and all my children on the ground, and with their machine guns, and tens of tanks were around the house, and then they handcuffed me and they took me to the airport until the evening, and they brought me back, and after the next day they took me and my family outside Iraq. Well, they were largely on the suburb of Baghdad, on the Tigris. There was, in Rashdiya, there was an irrigation research center, beautiful research center, built by the Indians. And we started this as the research facility. And we made a new sphere about 30 kilometers away from Baghdad. We made a giant facility for about 300,000 square feet of covered areas, plus minus 1 to 2 degrees centigrade, and from class 100 to class 100,000 buffer zones and all. This one was for the manufacturing and the small cascade. And away to the north of Baghdad, there was the facility for the big, which we intended for the big centrifuge cascade.
Was that near Tikrit?
No. The one near Tikrit for the emis, not for the centrifuge. Yes, please.
You said you dismantled all those facilities. Where's the equipment now?
Well, they have ruined this equipment. They have some of them have been ruined by the inspectors. Some have been ruined by the Iraqis themselves, and some have been carted away to Vienna, and some have been made useless and given back to the Iraqis to work on conventional works. We were definitely on the brink. I mean, if Saddam had not entered into Kuwait, we would definitely have given him, I don't think tens, with hundreds of bombs a year, because we could supply, only centrifuges could supply 4,000 centrifuges.